Alright, I was actually wanting to do this one for a little while because I finally actually saw Rance for the first time in my life, and to be perfectly honest, I never liked Rance. I still don't like Rance, by the way, but when it comes down to it though, I couldn't help but to look at the similarities between Rance and my own self-character, which is Jay, obviously. And when it comes down to it though, I said, why not just make a video, just talk about both of these characters and both of them in some shape and form and just see who is better out of the two, mainly from just like the type of person that they are, essentially. And it's not necessarily, the strangest thing in the world to do this, mainly because there's probably tons of characters that kind of is in the same boat as Shay, maybe, and tons of characters that possibly have the same ambitions as Rance does as well. So it's not necessarily too surprising to have this kind of happen, but when it comes down to it though, I do feel like there is an ideology sense that is a bit different in what Rance does and what Jay does, obviously. And as much as I don't like and still hate the bastard to this day, Issei, I still have to admit that there is similarities between him and Jay, honestly, as much as that made me want to throw up inside. But nonetheless, that is true. So what can we honestly pick apart when it comes to Rance and just Jay as a character? Well, let's look at things from Rance's perspective. What does Rance really care about? Women. Money too, and killing anybody that's in his way, much less annoying him. But yeah, that's essentially what Rance will target. Women, essentially. And when it comes to it, Rance don't give two flying F's about what he's about to do. Man's out here basically like, oh yeah, this fine ass chick over here. Get on your knees, bitch. It's time to please the hero. And that's essentially what Rance does, honestly. Right? And what makes Rance a little bit more wilder too, and a lot more controversial, is that the fact he doesn't necessarily care if you want to get the D or not want to get the D. It doesn't matter. He's gonna go get the cheeks. It does not matter to him, honestly. Like the time in the Gentai where he basically clapped the daughter of a bar owner, I think. Essentially, he was like, yo, save my daughter from this evil force of people. And he's like, alright, I'll save your daughter if she's fine. And so, knowing Rance how he is, basically say, yeah, I'm about to take this girl's daughter and essentially bring her back with me. And so beats the enemy, and while she's still tied up and blindfolded as all hell, he's just like, you know what? She looking right in this position. She doesn't want it, but you know what? I'm about to go ahead and just pipe her down anyway. And proceeds to McDonald's rap pay the shit out of the chick, and then still gets the money from the damn, bar owner's father and not necessarily bring this shit up ever. And even if he did, it's like, what the bar owner gonna do, right? Not only just disrespected the man's daughter like that, but you also clapped the daughter's cheeks with her not really wanting to be into it. And that ain't the first time he's done it. He's done it multiple times throughout the series, honestly. And obviously, if you pay attention to any of the games, it's a common staple of what he kind of does. It doesn't matter if there's cheeks to clap, and if he thinks they're worth it, there's gonna be some times where it's gonna also happen. It just is what it is. He's not the type of character that will just smash anything that moves, but he is gonna smash if he thinks it's worth his time and it's valuable, honestly. And so when people talk about Rance, I was immediately like, why the hell do people like Rance? If he's literally someone that has no problems with, forcefully getting at some women, honestly, why the hell would anybody like him? And a lot of the responses is usually just, he does what he does and he is the way he is and he ain't ashamed of what it is. Even if it's not necessarily the right thing to do, he's still not necessarily ashamed to do what he's going to do and become the person that he's going to become, right? He's someone that's true to himself, essentially. And that's why people end up liking Rance. Which, I can name a few characters that does the exact same thing and you probably hate, and so I'm gonna call BS on that nonsense. There's also a part of Rance where he absolutely just not having any type of respect for anybody. Like, very rare is it that time that he has respect for anyone, but constantly when Syl is on screen, definitely about any character, gets possibly the most disrespected of all characters, essentially, right? Essentially just be like, yo, do your job, bitch. If you don't do your job, I'm about to punish you in the ways of forcefulness, and things of the sort like that, right? Granted, she still runs with him for some reason, but nonetheless, he's basically not necessarily giving two shits of anybody's feelings, if I'm being honest. And it's just like, yeah, I'm just here to do what I'm gonna do, and that's essentially it. And very rarely would I ever give a shit about someone's feelings. I've also seen people talk about, oh, Rance doesn't necessarily go for lolly characters and things like that, and that's the one type of thing he doesn't necessarily go for, ugly characters and lolly characters. But if you looked at the Gentai, honestly, of Rance, Why did he try to go buck wild over some girls that worked at the, stores that was in the area, honestly? Why did he dive head first about to clap the cheeks of them if he didn't want lolly characters? He would go for lolly characters. Let's not keep that stacked, right? If that wasn't the case, they would not have him jump at them in the damn store. So, yeah, I don't know where anybody got that from. Now, when we look at someone like my character, Jay, obviously, he's the type of character that basically is similar to Rance, does what he basically wants to, clap the cheeks of different women, doesn't necessarily, hesitate when it comes to no matter whose cheeks it is. It could be a lolly, it could be, an average, character that you normally see in the anime, like a high schooler character. It could be an adult character. It doesn't necessarily matter. Anybody that has cheeks is gonna get got. That's essentially what it is. Even some of the characters that don't necessarily look as pretty as other characters, he doesn't necessarily mind doing it as long as it's not necessarily, super drastically ugly and things like that, right? That's essentially what Jay doesn't necessarily would go for. He, other than that, anybody's cheeks is basically on the dinner table ready for a slapping or so. As far as money goes, Jay doesn't need money because it's his own world that he created just with added characters into it. So to be perfectly honest, if he had a reason to have money, then he would probably already just have it just due to the story, honestly. But if we're looking at differences, one big difference obviously is that Jay doesn't necessarily forcefully go clap cheeks. Right? Now, don't get me wrong, he has done it before, but mainly it was not him in his right state of mind because obviously, if you know the story, there was a thing that was affecting him at the time that made him go and forcefully take the cheeks of Tenko and also genocide Jack as well. But ever since then, he hasn't necessarily done it, right? Though he did it with Junko too, but at the same time, still that state of mind, and also Junko kind of whooped his ass in the process, so it was reverse of that. So when it comes down to it, though, he has done it a few times. He hasn't done it too much, though, and there really isn't a reason for him to kind of go out and do it, if we're being perfectly honest. I guess if you want to add Mukuro too, I guess you want to throw that in. He was in this right state of mind, but rightfully so. Somebody that he liked died, and they were the cause of it, so, you know what, that's kind of how that kind of was. Okay, so he does do that a little bit, but he isn't that bad like Rance is, though, right? He has at least reasons or an excuse as to why. But when it comes down to, just straight up going for it and that, like, yeah, every cheek doesn't matter if you want it or not, that's not necessarily what he would go for. But when it comes down to a bigger, different departments, is especially how he views everybody. Because he doesn't just view every single female in there as, oh, my plaything or something for me to use real quick and just go on my way to not think about them anymore. No, he genuinely does care for each and every woman that's in that world, essentially. Whether it's someone that he has created himself or he dreamt up, or other characters that you very much well and know where it comes to different shows and stuff that just happen to be in that world and whatever. He does care like a lot for these people with their mental health and things of the sort. I mean, just look at the past arc of Symphony, honestly. That whole arc was literally just Symphony kind of just, being in a bad mental state, along with the thing that was affecting her at the time. And Jay never gave up on Symphony because he wanted to help her. So to be honest, it's kind of a thing that he always have done, whether it was the conversation in the beginning of the series where it comes to, Blue and her past, or whether it's trying to get Shoko to be a bit of better of a person, or whether it was literally something else of the sort. Hell, even changing one of his biggest enemies of the show so far, Junko, kind of came at the hand of someone that he also helped out, which was Kodako and Yukari having their conversation during the Kodako arc, essentially. And, the reason why Junko isn't a crazy psychopathic person anymore that wants to kill everybody is because Jay and Junko kind of talked it out at the very end of the series of, that finale of that arc, essentially. So Jay does definitely give way more of a shit about the well-being and, care of the mental state of certain people, honestly. Even if sometimes he does get manipulated sometimes, but he definitely does show a lot more care than Rance does. Also, when it comes down to it too, he does also have, I would say, a lot more, if we gotta look at a different level of it, a lot more power than Rance does. I don't know all the abilities that Rance got or what he can do, but there ain't no effing way I can see in any type of reality, unless Rance just has universal power or some shit like that, where Jay would honestly lose to Rance in some shape or form. No, he's not losing to Rance. He's the same person that beat the shit out of Tatsumaki and also, you know, the same person that literally stood up to someone that could, you know, transform any molecular body part of you in some shape or form. So, you know, he's not necessarily someone that could be beaten so damn easily, right? So that's also like another thing to kind of consider when it comes to it. At the end of this, though, you can definitely see that both sides are controversial in their own way, and definitely both of them are, you know, something that has something about them that probably you won't necessarily like, whether it's Jay clapping cheeks of lolly characters and doesn't matter who it is, or whether it's Rance basically just forcefully having his way with some type of woman, doesn't matter who it is or what position they're in, you know. But at least with Jay, he has an excuse, or at least a valuable way of doing this and not necessarily getting in any type of trouble with it, because he literally has created that world that he's in. He's literally in the world that he made himself. Who the hell is gonna stop him? There's not a normal society of people that just is there like our world. He's basically just having a world to himself where he can do whatever the hell he wants to. Who's gonna basically stop him? So that's kind of something that kind of just made me thought about things a little bit, honestly. Jay can get away with a lot more shit than Rance could if he really wanted to. Though that being said, the women in that world do have a mind of their own, and they will not necessarily stand for, you know, absolutely everything that Jay would throw out. So if he was completely out of line and did something ridiculous, then yeah, they would probably beat his ass. And having a lot of anime characters along with original characters in that world doing a lot of crazy powers and shit, and it's one guy, yeah, he's not surviving if they decided to turn on him. Thankfully that doesn't happen though, but still, nonetheless, you never know if it could though. So that's also essentially a thing that he can't necessarily fully get away with. But, you know, there's bits and pieces here. But that's essentially what I really wanted to cover for this one. I just wanted to do it just because I'm like, damn, both of these characters have similarities, but I also want to talk about how, you know, they kind of are as people too, you know? One definitely cares a bit more than the other, and one has some more potential to do worse things than another, but still, nonetheless, you know, it ain't like that. And also when it comes to it too, I wanted to do this video because I wanted to give you guys more time for the Q&A. So if you have any more questions about the community post and what you want to send me, definitely, you know, write it in the community post that's up right now, so you can get that going, because I'm probably gonna do the Q&A tomorrow. And also, just in case there's like a Kingdom Hearts video that drops today when it comes to a trailer, if there's a trailer at the State of Play, we all know. I doubt it will be, but you know, we'll never know until the time comes. So yeah, I also want to put that out for that reason as well, and not do the Q&A today. So that's basically the reason why. Hopefully you did enjoy this one. If you did, be sure to like, share, subscribe, hit the bell notification right out. Also follow me on socials, and if you'd like to donate to the channel, Kofi and Cash App is available as well, along with throwing gifts if you'd like to donate to the laptop so we can get a new laptop, because holy shit, I need one. And yeah, until then, it's your boy Jay, sign off. Have a blessed day.